And let's further break down the exit polls now and, well, how the process plays out from here with my Crossroads co-anchor Tal Heinrich and diplomatic correspondent Mike Wagenheim. Mike, let's start with you here. Exit polls, we've been saying, and you just heard there again from Likud, they just don't put much stock in them or faith in them at this point. But we also are barely getting anything in terms of final results.
No, we are. I want to make a point first about the exit polls. They are historically unreliable. What is not historically unreliable are polls in the two and a half months leading up to an election that consistently show the same thing week after week after week. And that's what we saw in the lead up to this election, was almost every poll showing that the only path to a government for either side, whether it's Netanyahu or Gantz, would be through a unity government. The math never added up to anything differently except in the extreme outlying polls that only appeared once or twice in the election cycle. So yes, you can toss the exit polls out based on history, but the dozens of polls leading up to the election, you can't just toss those out on election day. They meant something and they still mean something. On to the actual results now. Only 10.6% of the votes have been counted.
What's the time now in Israel, Mike?
It is 4:21.
4:21. I remember I was in Israel last time reporting from the Tel Aviv studio, and around this time, I believe 90% of the vote was in. We had the real results. Now we're still relying on the exit polls, which mean pretty much nothing, as Mike Wagenheim, my colleague here, projects. But here's the thing, Eric. Usually, Israelis go to sleep, and they wake up, and Likud supporters wake up with some sort of a surprise. Now, you know, hearing the speeches that we heard tonight, it just doesn't feel that it's going to be the same scenario. But who knows?
You know, either way, though, whether Likud wins by a couple of seats, if Benny Gantz's Blue and White Party wins by a couple of seats, that doesn't matter so much in the end. It may make a difference as to who gets the first crack at it, but you look at the other parties, you have to look at the coalition. We see on the screen Likud, 30.5%, Blue and White, 23.6%. That's all well and good. Those numbers will change throughout the evening, but it's the coalition that matters. And still, even as we look at 10.5% of the vote almost counted already, there's still no path for either side to build a coalition without merging together and forming a unity government. That's been the theme for the last 2.5 months, and I presume it will be the theme for possibly the next 2.5 months, because it's a long process ahead of it.
We both come from a background of sports. You know, it's like watching a very long soccer match and nobody scores. Nobody scores.
All right, so listen, nobody's going to score for a while, apparently. So let's talk about Israelis are going to wake up in the morning. They're going to, I'm assuming they've resigned themselves to the fact that they're not going to have any kind of conclusive news. But even after the final votes are tallied, Tal, there's still other votes that need to be tallied as well, right? You have the IDF.
The soldiers. Exactly. You have the soldiers. If we look at, you know, the vote in April, I think their votes sort of benefited Naftali Bennett and Ayelet Shaked back then, but it didn't really help them to make it past the threshold. So maybe if they give more votes to Yamina, this might change, you know, the picture just a little bit. Plus, remember the exit polls that we're looking at right now, the three of them from the three different Israeli media channels are pretty much the same, but there's one that gives Yamina, if I'm not wrong, one mandate more than the other. Still, it's pretty much going to be a talk of a unity government and how broad it's going to be. We heard that Benny Gantz, he spoke to almost everyone. He didn't mention the Arab Joint List and Likud, but he said that he already talked to the Labor Party, to the...
Talked to Labor, he talked to the Democratic Union, and he's actually setting up a meeting, we learned, with Ayman Odeh. In just a couple of days, they're going to have a face-to-face meeting. Odeh, the head of the Joint Arab List, which according to those unreliable exit polls, surpassed expectations tonight, and could, not Avigdor Lieberman, play the role of kingmaker, but it could be Ayman Odeh playing the role of kingmaker, because if he can get enough of his Joint Arab List comrades to support Benny Gantz and give him the recommendation to be prime minister, then perhaps President Reuven Rivlin will give Gantz the first crack at forming a coalition rather than the current prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
You know what I'm wondering here, Eric, Mike? Avigdor Lieberman, when he spoke tonight, he you know, called on the president of Israel, Reuven Rivlin, to invite both Benny Gantz and Netanyahu as soon as this upcoming Friday. He said for a lunch, maybe a Friday dinner, right? Yeah. To talk ahead of the official recommendation, you know, progress. I wonder if this actually takes place. I mean, What do you think?
If there's a Friday night dinner at the Rivlin
wanna be
residence, no, the ultra-Orthodox will go nuts. It's Shabbat. You can't travel on Shabbat.
It's a great
That'll be the end of the ultra-Orthodox.